Oh, good evening, ladies, and it's really lovely to have you with me this evening. So thank you so much for joining me to listen to me and talk a little bit about you, the emotionally intelligent women. One of my favorite topics, actually. So hopefully you get a lot out of today, and hopefully there's a lot of things that you can actually do with regards to learning more about emotional intelligence and what it means. So one of the things that I always say is that when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's a really interesting topic because there's so many different parts of it. And I think for many people, it's kind of the fad word, but I think it's something that's been around for many, many years, if not since really the dawn of, I say, womankind, because I'm talking to females on the line tonight. But essentially, when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's like, would you like to learn how to manage your emotions well so they work for you and not against you? Emotional intelligence is all about the ability that we have to manage our emotions well. Can we manage our emotions well? Do we do it well? Are there areas that we struggle with our emotions? And therefore, what we talk about with regards to emotional intelligence is what do we need to do to manage our emotions well? And would you like to be able to do that, really, is what I'm saying in this particular slide. Would you like to be able to walk away from disagreements thinking, I really handled that well? Yeah, I did that really, really well. Would you like to be able to keep your emotions in check when you feel angry or upset? To feel emotions is a human experience. We all have emotions. We all get angry or frustrated or, distressed at times. And probably the only exclusion to this would be the characteristic of a psychopath who really doesn't have the capacity to feel and express emotions. But really, emotional intelligence is about being able to speak our emotions when we need to and feel our emotions, obviously, when they're there, and not suppress them and let them be squashed, because emotions are there for a reason. They're telling us something. Would you like to be able to manage any situation at home or at work calmly? And I love that because, I think that the key word in emotional intelligence, really, the key word of it all is calm. When you get angry, can you remain calm? When you get frustrated, can you remain calm? So emotional intelligence, particularly in line with the gender inequality and the Me Too movement, I think women overall, we need to start learning around how to manage our emotions in such a way that we actually are taken seriously. And what I mean by that is, for example, in business, quite often, historically, a man will say to a female employee when she's upset, oh, don't cry, you don't need to cry. And maybe she does and maybe she doesn't. But I think it's maybe more important about her learning maybe to manage that emotion that she has around distress or upset and be able to walk away calmly, come back and think about what's going on and then resolve it. So I think that there's many aspects, as I said, when I started to emotional intelligence and how to be emotionally intelligent as a woman. Would you like to be able to stand up for yourself calmly when others are bullying and trying to control you? I think that's a really key topic around emotional intelligence, the behavior of others around you and what you can do about that. But I'll address it as we go through the presentation. The real problem is that many women either tend to be passive in conflict or we become aggressive. And in any one of the programs that I'm running or whichever continent I'm on, I work internationally, some of you will know that. I think that what we do as women is we either tend to roll over, so we don't address issues, we don't try and resolve issues, and we rather let others have their say, or we tend to get aggressive. And so really when we talk about aggressive and passive, essentially, what I'm talking about is emotional intelligence is about the ability to be calm, which really sits between passive and sits between aggressive. And it's really attached to assertive behavior. Either way, we lose if we're passive or if we're aggressive. And maybe it's time to see how you deal with your emotions through fresh eyes, to really think about, are there ways I can do it better? Are there ways that maybe I can deal with my emotions more productively so that the relationships around me at business or at work or, with the family or the in-laws, that's another topic, right, the in-laws, so that essentially when I do feel an emotion, I'm able to deal with it in a way that keeps the relationships that I have around me intact. I think that's a key thing. Do I express and deal with my emotions in a way that the relationships around me are still good? How do I handle my emotions? Am I good at it? And I get many women telling me, not good at my emotions, Karen. If I'm angry, then they'll know I'm angry. If I'm upset, that then they'll know I'm upset. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, ladies. I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that we have to hide how we feel. That's not what emotional intelligence is about. But it is about being able to handle your emotions well. Do I show them too easily to others? Do I show everybody how I feel about things? Am I an open book? Am I easy to be read? Or am I able to keep a little bit back for me? Or conversely, how can I use my emotions better to help me feel in control of situations I am in? Because sometimes, when we feel that we're out of control in situations, very often what then happens is that because we feel out of control, we become emotionally out of control. And so maybe part of the process then is to be able to keep ourselves calm when we're dealing with things, and ultimately then be able to say, look, at the end of the day, I can control what's happening here. I am in a position where I can choose to behave or to react or respond in the way I want to. And what is the best way forward? I will give you the opportunity to have a one-on-one session with me, probably do about 5. And the opportunity around that is to just talk about some of the things that you might experience or some of the difficulties that you might have around emotional intelligence. And just generally, it's free. There's no charge. So it's just a general kind of checkup to see whether there's things that you would like to improve, and obviously to speak to somebody who's been dealing with this particular topic for many, many years. So some of you know who I am, not all of you. My name is Karen Walsh. I coach women. I own a business. I do intellectual leadership development. I do executive coaching. I've studied and lectured university for many, many years in psychology and communications. I work on 3 continents. I've worked with families, marriages, and individuals for over 20 years. So very, very versed in relationships, emotional intelligence, assertive behavior, communication, conflict. I do lots of writing. I speak at conferences, about 25 a year. I coach CEOs. I love that, actually. And the one CEO I coached who became CEO of the year was a woman, great, great woman, still a fantastic female. I've won a couple of awards, if that's important to people. I don't think it's important to me, but it's always nice to actually, I suppose, get some sense of acknowledgement. And I do keynote speaking. My passion in working with women is to help them lead the lives they were born to lead, free from fear and limiting beliefs that they will never get to where they want to go. And obviously when I'm talking about that particular statement, which sounds so motherhoodish, and it's not meant to be, but I'm very, very devoted and committed to helping women across the world. I'm very devoted to helping women grow in the confidence, the resilience, and the skills that they need to be able to live those fantastic and productive lives that they dream of and they deserve. So that's just a little bit about me, and that, for some of you who don't know me, sort of puts it into context as to why I'm talking to you about this topic today. Some of the people I've worked with over the years, both in Australia and internationally, and it's just been a wonderful journey for me. The Empowering Women to Thrive program comes initially from, obviously, my work with women, comes out of my space of domestic violence initially, and I will talk to you just now about a program that we've just launched called Be Unstoppable. It's an online program, and it's helping women around the world thrive. And I wrote that program out of an incident of familicide, and I'll explain a little bit more about that just now. But I'm really about helping women at all levels and ages thrive. So we go into organizations. I run a program called Empowering Women to Thrive at Work, which, ladies, you'll love this. I have just finished running in the Master Builders Association. Now, the Master Builders Association has to be one of the most male-dominated industries in Australia. So it's builders, construction, tradies, and we got 20 women, and we upskilled them as to how to lead, how to communicate, how to deal with situations. And it was such a fantastic experience. It was such a fantastic success that they're going to roll it out nationally. So very, very happy about that and very proud about that. The Be Unstoppable program, which I'll explain a little bit later on in the program, that's Empowering Women to Thrive, the Master Builders program I was explaining to you. Very, very importantly, I just want to make very clear, there's a lot of money and effort and energy that's going into helping women into leadership, and I think it's a great opportunity and a wonderful approach. However, the thing that I do have a concern about is that there's many other women in organizations who make impact who are equally as important as women in leadership as others. And so the Empowering Women to Thrive at Work is about really helping women at all levels. So admin, reception, PAs, EAs, sales reps. Women need to be upskilled as women, you know, and things like presentation skills, communication skills, all of those kind of things that we tend to throw at male leaders or female leaders is great. But I really like to work with women as well down the line. I think it's very important. We do women's retreats, obviously coaching and monthly webinars. So this is our 8th webinar this year. And it's really interesting because a lot of the women now on the webinars are coming from are all over the world, Denmark, the States, South Africa, New Zealand. It's just fantastic. So the tribe grows, ladies, and I'm so privileged to have you as part of it. Just quickly, the Be Unstoppable. This is a 9-stage program. It was written for women around the world by women, me, who understands women. And it was actually then put into an online format by an absolutely gifted female educational consultant, who, by the way, is 75 years of age, world class, and is technologically gifted. So there you go. But the program itself is really aimed at women around the world who want to do something about helping their lives. And the reason why I put it online was because I've been asked to do this program for about the last 20 years. And I'll talk a little bit more about it as we go towards the end of the presentation. But if not for you, then certainly for your mothers, your sisters, your friends. There's far too many women still not being promoted at work or not being valued in their contribution in business. Domestic violence, unfortunately, has not decreased in Australia. In fact, it's increased slightly, even though $600 million has been thrown at it over the last 3 years. So if you want to know a little bit more about it, you'd go onto that website, www.empoweringwomen2thrive.com, and you can read about it. We're just about to update the sales page, but it's all there. About 1,400 women have gone on since June the 21st. So let's talk about emotional intelligence, because I think this is really, as I said when I started, this and resilience, my 2 favorite topics. By definition, emotional intelligence is the ability to manage your emotions to facilitate social functioning. So let me take the academia out of that. If you manage your emotions well, then generally you tend to manage those around you well. And then we all get on kind of thing, which is a social functioning. So you have no control, ladies, over anybody else. Their behavior, what they think, what they feel, nothing. The only person, obviously, over whom you have control is you. So if you are able to, let's say that you're in a disagreement with your mother, for example, and she's really starting to anger you, it's at that stage where we can say whether you're emotionally intelligent or you're not. So an example might be, you know, when she says something that really angers you, do you shout and scream and get angry? Which we would regard as emotional unintelligence, because your emotions then are getting the better of your ability to manage the situation calmly and logically. Or do you stand calmly and say to her, listen, Mum, this is not working right now, so we're going to take a break, I'll come back later. Notice that then your logic is overruling your emotions. And generally emotionally intelligent people, ladies, are people who have the ability for their thinking, their logic to overrule their emotions in specific instances like conflict, frustration, distress, etc. And the more you're able to do that, obviously then your mother can't fight with you because you're not prepared to fight, and therefore then your mum and you probably are able to walk away from that situation with some sense of, okay, that wasn't particularly good, we'll come back later, as opposed to shouting and screaming and, calling each other silly things or ignoring each other for the next couple of months. Both of those examples are emotional unintelligence. So the ability to manage your emotions, and thus the emotions of your mother, because you're not shouting and screaming and then she doesn't respond in the same way, then facilitate good social functioning. In other words, you and your mum still have a good relationship as opposed to not speaking to each other, as I said. Now, obviously, in a short webinar, it's not long enough for me to explain the ramifications and the benefits, although I do have a slide on the benefits of emotional intelligence, but it's a very, very key topic. And can you learn it? Oh, absolutely you can. We learn actually to be emotionally unintelligent. It's not a characteristic, a personality trait with which we are born. No, it's something we learn. It's something generally we learn in our younger years when we watch our parents and how they behave. Often we just pick up where they put down. So you can learn emotional intelligence, absolutely, and to be more calm and more assertive in the way that you behave with each other. And that's the good news, because what it means then is that moving forward, you can get better at relationships, both at work and at home. You can get better at relationships also with yourself. Because, if we're in a situation where you shout and scream and we say things we don't mean, we often walk away from that quite upset with ourselves for not handling that well. And I think very often it's more detrimental to us and how we feel about ourselves when we don't do it well. So emotional intelligence is not only necessarily having good relationships with others, but it's also about having good relationships with ourselves. My work with women is I've coached and trained thousands of women over 25 years, and I see common issues or threads. And communication is one, and doing it much better. Being assertive is another, but using emotions is one where we can definitely do better. So that's why I love this topic, and I love working on this topic with women. The benefits of emotional intelligence. Now, if you go online, ladies, there's so much, but essentially 3 areas. We make better decisions. We're able to think more calmly. We're able to think more rationally because our emotions aren't throwing us around the place, and we don't make decisions out of anger. So what's an example? Let's say that you and your partner are splitting up and you want to get back at them because you're really angry. So you will do something like sell the house because you don't want him to get the house. And in that moment when you're angry, it might seem like a good idea, but actually it's a really bad idea. And therefore, if we are calm, if we're able to stay rational, in other words, our logic overrules our emotions, then we make better decisions. If you put that into a working context, your boss really annoys you, embarrasses you. So you go to your desk and you write out a resignation form and you throw it on his desk, and the next day you leave. Bad decision. Really bad decision, really ultimately propelled by anger, which is an emotion. In other words, your emotion of anger then overrules your ability to make good decisions. So emotional intelligence is absolutely important. The next one is effective relations, not relations, so there should be an S, sorry about that. But our ability to have good relations, as I've explained in the example with your mother. And improved health. If you go to bed feeling, I really did that well today, or I remain calm, or, I didn't like Bob, my manager, and what he said, but I was able to deal with him, we generally tend to feel calmer, less anxious, less distressed, less depression. The list goes on. There is absolutely not one reason why not to become or to focus on becoming emotional intelligence, because there are only benefits to being emotionally intelligent, ladies. There are no downsides. So better career prospects, obviously. Interestingly enough, the king of emotional intelligence is a person called Daniel Goleman. He wrote Emotional Intelligence and Emotional Intelligence at Work. And what he talks about, which is really interesting, he spent 25 years studying emotional intelligence. He says that the people who have better emotional intelligence than those who don't generally tend to go up in the organization quicker. So if I go into an organization, let's say I'm recruited and Sally's recruited at the same time, and we go through our organizational life, but as I'm able to be calmer when things get tough and, when some relationships at work get a bit tricky, and if I'm able to deal with those relationships well and upper management sees that and my team sees that, and I'm always a calm, sort of positive go-to person, Goleman's research says that then generally I will be the one who will climb up the corporate ladder faster than Sally, who tends to get aggravated and frustrated. So it's really interesting that it's more than just decision-making, relationships, and health. It's also better careers, better problem-solving, and more effective decision-making, as I said earlier. And ultimately then, what do? We enjoy life more. So there's a couple of things, problems. So unsure how to resolve issues. So, for example, emotional intelligence in relationships. Emotional intelligence is a key component in having successful relationships. I say that when I speak at conferences. I say that when I speak at training programs. I say that when I'm coaching, counseling. It doesn't matter. If you think about the world just for a minute, a lot of the time the world's problems right now are based on impulse, warfare, fanaticism, lack of emotional control, anger. And so if the whole world was able to really think about, hold on, even though I'm angry about somebody in the neighboring country, if I was a president or prime minister, let me think about this calmly and let me think about this coolly. And I go on and on about the fact that I think that all of the executives, without a doubt, at every organization, in every country who's running countries, government, should really get emotional intelligence as a key KPI for their role. Because I think that we would have a different world if we were able to deal with emotional intelligence better. So very often for women, and this is my experience over many years, women, when we get distressed and upset and angry, we tend to do one of two things. As I said earlier, we're passive, which means we don't say anything or we don't address issues, we let things happen, or we're too aggressive. So we come out guns a-blazing. And both of those show emotion. Passive is obviously sulking, the silent treatment. Aggression is often getting angry and frustrated. And neither of those are going to win us any brownie points at work, for example, if we're trying to get something resolved or we're trying to get some situation into another place. And often then what we do as women, more so than men, I might add, but men aren't not guilty of this either, we become passive-aggressive. So we say nothing's wrong, but then we don't do what we're supposed to. Or we'll tell our husbands, no, everything's fine, but then we don't make them dinner. Passive-aggressive behavior is very difficult because very often with passive-aggressive behavior, we don't know what we're dealing with. We have no idea because they're saying something, but they're doing something else. And because all of those three behaviors, passive-aggressive or passive-aggressive, are in the play, things won't get better. Even at work, things won't get better. How often have we worked with people who come into work, they're angry about something, they don't greet anybody, they drag themselves into work with a pert look on their face, sour-faced, go to their desk, begin typing, and ignore everybody. Now, that is the height of emotional unintelligence. If they're angry, they should be discussing it calmly with the person with whom they are angry. We feel trapped in the same cycle of anger, non-resolution, frustration, at work and at home. And when that happens over time, you often feel afraid to raise issues. Then what happens is resentment. Oh my gosh, the death of relationships is resentment. I could write a book about resentment, lack of forgiveness. So resentment boils up and builds over time. You're scared to say how you feel about something. And so what happens, I suppose it's like a pressure cooker, really. Things just build and build and build and build. And then one day somebody says something and generally the female, blows, the stack blows. And people around them think, what on earth happened there? Well, what happened there is that they didn't use emotional intelligence to deal with issues as they arose. Hence, nothing seems to change. Relationships break down. Emotional intelligence would be one of the key factors in keeping relationships thriving, productive, happy, or stale, going downhill, and out of date. Problem number 2, no speak, sulking, disengaging. This is another sign of emotional unintelligence. And this is not just at home, this is at work, this is with the family, this is everywhere. You feel angry, frustrated, you feel unable to resolve the issue or don't know how. I think that's more an important point. And very often we're so much in the cycle of old behaviors that we learned a long time ago that we keep repeating the cycle because it's all we know. The problem about that, ladies, is that ultimately those patterns become so entrenched in who and what we are and what we do that they don't serve us anymore. They work against us, not work for us. And ultimately it affects us. It affects our relationships. It affects how we are. It affects our self-esteem. And ultimately we then feel as if we're not really coping. Often the silence continues and it might get better just for a bit. But the pattern keeps going. And when this all happens, you feel upset, unsure how to deal with the issue, have ongoing resentment or anger, feel disillusioned, look for a new job, can't stand my boss because he's rude. Well, he might be, but you haven't stood up to him. You just get angry and sulk or angry and scream. I was working with a woman the other day who had told her boss to go and fumigate himself. And I said, well, okay, so how did that help? Well, I felt better, and I'm sure she did, and that's absolutely wonderful, except it ruined her career because she was fired. It would have been far better for her to hold on to that frustration and do it differently, but at least having walked out of that situation with a win. So what ultimately then happened is she lost her job. So what's then her situation is lose-lose. The relationship with her boss certainly broke down. And she was very unhappy. She came to see me very distressed. But what was interesting about her, she was more distressed with her than with what had happened. She was more distressed with how she had handled it than what had happened. And so our whole discussion was about how she could have done it differently from an emotional perspective. Because often emotions drive behaviors. If she'd been able to hold on to those emotions and just calm and think it calmly, think it through, even leave it for 24 hours and let her head rule her heart, I guarantee that the outcome would have been significantly different. I remember the day I started loving working with women. A 24-year-old Jessie was too wonderful. She was divine. She lacked confidence at work. She'd get angry about something, but she'd say nothing. So she had no kind of confidence in her ability to resolve issues. She also sulked a lot. And she, in her own admission, used sulking as part of punishment. And really, at the end of the day, if you're going to sulk, sulking is very childlike behaviors. In adults, there is no room for sulking. And what then happens is that ultimately she just gets resentment. But more importantly is that the people around her just get irritated and frustrated with her. And a couple of them had sort of written Jessie off, a typical Jessie. All she does is get angry and then, puts on the non-speaks. In other words, emotional unintelligence. And she would do nothing. She would say nothing or do nothing. She wouldn't resolve issues. So people actually got bored of drama queen Jess. And I think if my memory serves me correctly, she was 24, but she'd have about 7 jobs by the time she came to see me. And at the end of the day, when we really discussed this in the coaching and we really worked it out, it was nothing more than her inability to have emotional intelligence that was at the heart of her problem. Because her emotions drove her behaviors. And ultimately what then happens is that empowering women to thrive at work, she wasn't empowering herself at all. In fact, she was disempowering herself and she was losing each time. The problem was Jessie. The problem was not everything around her, it was her. So the emotionally intelligent woman, really what we're talking about today. How does she manage her emotions in situations? I mean, in the ideal world, what does an emotionally intelligent woman look like? Well, this is her, ladies. She looks like this. She's in touch with how she feels about things. If I have to ask her, so what do you feel about something? She'll say, I feel upset or I feel angry. She won't say to me, I don't know what I feel. She knows what she feels, and I think that's a very important part. There's 5 competencies in emotional intelligence. The first competency is insight. Self-awareness. You must understand you. Why you get angry, when you get angry, what are the things that will get you angry? So if you ask me, I'd say, I cannot stand animal abuse. I will get angry, I will get rageful. And I know how I'm going to react, even though I try and stay calm, and generally I can. I find that very difficult for me. I cannot stand child abuse. And I know how generally I'll react, but I also realize that to stay calm when I'm dealing with it is much more positive as an outcome than if I get angry, because anger and frustration doesn't help me or them. She's able to work out what her emotions are telling her. That's a really important thing. Like, what are your emotions telling you? And if you can work it out. So, for example, you might say, well, your friend was rude to you in front of others and you're really angry. Yes, that's right, you are, and you've got every reason to be angry because anger is a natural reaction or response to what happened. However, there's always generally hurt behind anger. So if you say, I'm angry, if you peel away a little bit, actually you hurt. And hurt, ladies, is a different emotion to anger. But at the end of the day, my emotion of hurt means I feel disrespected or betrayed by my friend, and the manifestation of that is anger. Anger is a defensive emotion. It's protecting me. But the real emotion, the real feeling is hurt. Now, I'm not asking you to rush off and be your own psychologist. That would be silly. But I am asking you to maybe just think a little bit more about what are the things that you feel and what are they telling you? Because those people who are emotionally intelligent, those women, are able to understand what their emotions are telling them. She can hold her own calmly in any situation, even if she is furious or distressed. So she's calm. Even if, for example, something's happened and she's been, disrespected and disregarded and spoken to badly, let's say in a team meeting, she holds her own. She might say something like, I really don't appreciate what's just happened now, but I'd like to discuss it later. Now, she could be raging inside and really angry, but notice that she's calm and she's still in control. If she storms out of the meeting and slams the door, emotional unintelligence, she's lost control. If she bursts into tears in the meeting, she's lost control. If she shouts and screams in the meeting, she's lost control. So I think it's about, and it's not always about being in control, ladies, that's not what I'm saying. But I am saying it's about being elevated to a different way of behaving so that we walk away from situations in life that we feel have a much better outcome than others. This is an emotionally intelligent woman. She manages to let her head rule her heart. And I think that's a really important point. It's around thinking things through. Now, when you talk about head over heart, I talk about I respond to situations, I don't react. If my heart takes control, like storming out of a meeting, it means that I react. If my head takes control and I say something like that's not appropriate, that means I respond. And there's a difference between respond and react. And what we women of the world need to start learning about is to learn to respond to life, not react to it. Because we need to be able to stand tall in our space as females and having the most amazing amount of wonderful things and valuable contributions to make. But we generally will get there faster and better if we're calmer about what it is that we're wanting to do and when we come across obstacles along the way. Logic over emotional outburst. Then she goes back and calmly resolves the issue. So solutions to problem number one would be things like learn what impact your emotions have on you. We are all different human beings. Some of us are less emotional or feel our emotions less than others. I tend to be somebody who is very emotional. And as a younger person, if I was angry or upset, I would be a classic person that I would be talking to now as an older woman. And I would be saying to my younger self, Karen, calm down, settle. I could get really upset about things. I could get really passionate about things. Nothing wrong with passion, ladies. Nothing in the world that has been great has ever been achieved without passion. And passion is emotion. But I would get angry about something and I would let somebody know and, tell them off and da-da-da-da-da. And at the end of the day, I would walk away very often feeling bad about what I'd said or sad about the way that I'd handled it. So as I've got older and obviously more learned in the work I do, I learn to make myself really feel my emotions, but to hold on to them. So learn what impact they have. Do a program on emotional intelligence. We run programs on emotional intelligence all day, every day. Generally a 1 to 2 day program, although I prefer a 2-day program because we go deep into emotions and what they are and how they manifest. But if it's not with us, do a program on emotional intelligence or do the Be Unstoppable program because stage number 8 is the emotionally intelligent woman. Learn key skills through program, as I said, program coaching, reading, implement strategies to get it right, probably through coaching, for somebody to bounce off ideas with and to steer you on the right track. Find a coach to teach and guide you. So one of the key things, and I'll come back to what I said when I started, there are 2 key competencies and skills that women in today need. Emotional intelligence is one, and communication is another. The ability to be assertive and stand up for ourselves. So I really would like you to take this webinar as a serious recommendation from somebody who does it around the world, who teaches and trains all colors, races, and creeds, who works with all kinds of situations, domestic violence, homicide, suicide, familicide, where people kill their children or families. This is a critical skill that we women need. But for things to change in our lives, we must change. We need to learn the skills that I'm talking to you about now. We need to learn how to manage our emotions so that they work for us and they don't work against us. So problem number 2, solutions: you sulk, don't speak, get angry. Read, learn about EI, as I said earlier. Understand that you're the person who has control over how you respond to life. You know, you are the only one who has control over what you do. It's like the alcoholic. The alcoholic says to me, well, Karen, I'm an alcoholic because my father was and my wife left me and my children don't want to speak to me. That is not why you are an alcoholic. You are an alcoholic, surely, if you believe in the disease model, you might have the genetic predisposition. But at the end of the day, if you are drinking alcohol, it's because you choose to put that glass or bottle to your lips and drink. In other words, the only person over whom we have control is us, nobody else. So I want you to think about how your life is. Are you living well? Are you happy? Do you get the best out of life, or do you want more? Is there more that you want whilst you have this time called life? Get a handle on what upsets you or makes you feel fantastic. Practice the skills. Get a mantra to help you stay calm. I do a lot of traveling. I fly a lot, and I absolutely loathe flying. I'm scared of it. So I have a mantra, and it's just as simple as calm, calm. When it gets rough up there and I'm sort of thrown around with turbulence, I just say the word calm and I breathe, calm and I breathe. And has it helped me? Look, it has helped me, truthfully. Has it, eradicated my problem? No. Will it ever? No. I'm just intrinsically anxious around flying. But that's my mantra, and it does help me. And I want you to think of something similar. So 8 ways to increase your emotional intelligence. Increase your self-awareness. As I said, get your handle around you. Know what your hot buttons are and why you get angry. I think, as I said, I said to you, child abuse or animal abuse, understand you. And what are those things that are more inclined to make you emotionally unintelligent than not? Because then it's around those things that you've got to start thinking about, how can I do this differently? What mantra do I need to stay calm? Manage your emotions. Don't let them hijack you. When you feel angry, say or do nothing for at least an hour, although I recommend 24 hours. If I'm really, really angry about something, I stay away from that person for 24 hours. I had a situation where my sister, and I love my sister dearly, but she really, really upset me. This was a couple of years ago. And by this stage, I'd learned emotional intelligence, and I just said to her, I'm so angry right now that I can't talk to you. And normally I would go my 24 hours, but I actually went about a week just so that I could calm down. It wasn't sulking. Oh, no, it was not punishing, but I was just so angry and upset that I needed to calm down. And then I went back and we resolved the issue. Learn to express yourself appropriately. Learn to say what you mean. The Be Unstoppable program, that is number 6, communicate assertively. The Empowering Women to Thrive at Work program is one of the programs, or the topics in that is communicate assertively and confidently at work. And as I said to you just now, 2 issues we need to address as women: emotional intelligence and communication. Stay calm. Focus on the topic in front of you. Handle the issue that you're dealing with. Don't react. Make sure your head rules your heart. As I've said on various occasions in conflict and difficult situations, don't react and respond. Always respond, ladies. Take a big text and put on your fridge, or put on a piece of paper on your fridge in your car at work. Respond, not react. Respond, not react. Maintain a positive attitude towards life. I said 8, but I always have to throw in another one. It's always around optimism or being positive. So there you are. I've been dealing with women for, as I said, 25 years, and my love of working for women comes off so many different reasons. I think we feel undervalued. We are certainly misrepresented. We're spoken to badly. We're treated badly. In some countries, we can't drive. Some countries, we are not allowed to wear what we want to, be free in where we go. And I just got really the poops with all of this a long time ago. And so my work with women is to really empower them, to help them get the confidence and the ability and the self-belief to lead the life that you want to. And all the things that we do as a team, it's not me on my own, we take you from that to that. Now, it might not be as significant as a huge change in your life, but sometimes in our lives as women, it's just one little thing that can make a difference. And that's why I'm here, to help all those women around the world on any continent, and there's many of them who we engage with, to just live in a different way and to live more happily. So here, I'll just quickly tell you about this program. So the Be Unstoppable, the 9-stage online program, you access it, there it is, empoweringwomentothrive.com. That is the code, ladies. Now, the code is given to you because the normal price is $297, including GST. Extraordinarily inexpensive for what it is, but it's my gift to women around the world. And the code of BU, Be Unstoppable -Thrive, will give you $100 off. So you get it for $197. And if it's not for you, then it's for your sister, mother, friend, aunt, neighbor. Because at the end of the day, as I said, there's about 1,400 women going through it at the moment. I want to make this program accessible to as many women around the world as I possibly can. And I'll just share with you one of the motivating factors that I wrote this program. Well, there were a couple. One was that I've been asked to write this for many, many years. The second one is that I really wanted to give women who weren't able to see me necessarily or face-to-face or get me into their organizations. I wanted to give them the opportunity to learn how to be empowered. And probably the saddest of all of the reasons was a familicide situation I was involved in, where a man killed his children and then killed himself. And I remember feeling so angry with this person, that I kind of looked heavenwards and asked God, what do you want me to do? And suddenly came to my mind was this program. So this program is dedicated to women around the world. The youngest person, by the way, actually going through the program at the moment is 14, and the oldest person is 86. So you're never too young and you're never too old. These are the actual topics, and I think it's important that you know personal empowerment, taking control of your life. Your story, you really matter, and that's all about, so many women, think that they're irrelevant. And what do? We get up in the morning and we do things for everybody else and we come last. We cook, we clean, we bottle wash, we work, we do everything for the family, we look after our parents, and then we might give 5 minutes of ourselves, some sort of time at the end of the day. That has to stop. If we as women want to be taken seriously in our own lives, we matter. Number 3 is trust, love, and safety in relationships. And this is all about what is a healthy relationship? What does a healthy relationship truly look like? Because the tragedy of the situation is that many, many women around the world are in relationships that are toxic and not functional. 1 woman a week dies in Australia from domestic violence, ladies. And if she does not die physically, she dies spiritually and emotionally. And there would be a good few of you on the line this evening who are in a relationship that is domestically violent. And a domestic violence is not only physical violence, ladies. It's emotional violence, financial violence, social violence, sexual violence, and spiritual violence. So trust, love, and safety in relationships. I teach you what a good relationship really looks like. Topic on women in business. What is it that we need to do to really succeed in business, and strategies and techniques and activities to do that? Managing stress as a woman in a challenging world, it should be, but managing stress as a woman, honestly, we are the most amazing creatures, women. We do so much. We are involved in so many things. We raise villages, we raise communities, we work. And the real problem with the stress that we have is that often it kills us. I had a hairdresser a couple of years ago. She was a beautiful woman under so much stress, 39 years of age, an absolutely brilliant hairdresser, and she was dead from a heart attack through stress before she hit the floor. So stress is a very important part in our lives, and I don't think generally women do it well. So managing stress is stage number 5 in the Be Unstoppable program. And here's, as I said, one of the biggies: communicate assertively and confidently, all about what is assertive behavior, how to be assertive. What do you need to do to become assertive? And there you are. Number 7 is You, the Emotionally Intelligent Woman, which talks a lot more about what I've been talking to you about today, but strategies, etc., etc. And those 2 are critical, as I've been saying in this presentation. Resilience, bouncing forward as a woman. Most people say to me, resilience is bouncing back. No, I think resilience is bouncing forward and doing things the way that you want to do. And the last one is goal setting. So there they are, the 9 stages. It's a self-paced program. You can do it in your own time. You can contact us at any time. I do follow your progress. I talk to you online. You can talk to me anytime you like. And it's a real great program that this educational consultant has done online. Lots of activities, readings, YouTubes, quizzes, games, all different strategies to keep you engaged. So I've spoken to you about it. Be Unstoppable. The Empowering Women to Thrive at Work. It's a face-to-face program. This is the one that we did at Master Builders, as I said. They actually chose 7 of the 12. You don't have to choose 12 stages. And the outcome was fantastic. The coaching is for women personally and professionally. Obviously, I've been doing that for a long time, so I have members of my team. And as I said, one of the CEOs I coached, female, was 2017 CEO of the Year. We run retreats. And please follow us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. We would love to hear from you. It would be fantastic. And just follow us. We do lots of blogs and posts, etc., etc. So there we are. I want to offer you a special discussion about emotional intelligence. As I said when I started today, I'd give 5 of you a one-on-one with me, and that's how you book. So you've just got to access that particular link, and it'll give you the opportunity to book a time in, so please do so. And at the time that you book, I will give you a call and we will have a discussion for 40 minutes to an hour. So it's been a pleasure talking with you today, ladies. I've really, really enjoyed it. Are there any questions that any of you may have? So this is a question from Sam. Thank you, Sam. And the question is it possible for me to be able to teach other people in my life emotional intelligence? The answer is yes, it is. And how do you do that? I think the best way to teach other people to be emotionally intelligent is for you to be emotionally intelligent with them. So, for example, they could go on courses and programs, just as I've said to you. But I think it's often how we behave in relationships. As I said, you can't control other people's behavior, but you can control yours. So what's important is that if you are calm and cool about something, and ultimately they see the way that you're behaving, then their behavior with you becomes different and calmer as well, hopefully. Not all the time. You do get some psychos out there, let's be fair. But ultimately, for things to change, first I must change. But yes, you can, Sam. It just takes time. And the best thing they would be able to do, obviously, is go through a program. So I just want to say thank you so much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for your time. And I wish you the very, very best. And I really hope that you will contact me. I really hope that you will give yourself the opportunity to be upskilled and to grow and develop in probably the most important skill that all women need around the world today. So Karen Walsh signing off. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you next month. God bless.